morning to the Pop and Wrestling Podcast with me, Coach 23. It's a gloomy uh, Monday because of Typhoon Nika. So, first things first, uh, I hope everyone will be safe. If people the side of the north need to evacuate, please do so. Preparedness, especially during this type of climate, is really, can help. It might not be the best solution, but it definitely can help. So, my brothers and sisters in the north here in Manila, here in the Philippines, be safe there. Just follow what, people in the government tells you what to do. Like I said, if you need to evacuate, evacuate. I know some things are important to you guys, but things are just things. Give me 1 second. All right. So that's it. Like I said, hope everyone is safe. Second of all, I would like to thank those people who have watched my podcast yesterday or listened to my podcast when I rambled about SmackDown review and Survivor Series prediction and BPO talk. Really appreciate it. I am elated. I'm happy in a way because yesterday's episode was the most viewed episode in the history of the Pop and Wrestling podcast. I still believe in the mantra that Triple H said a couple of years back. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And maybe later we'll dwell on the why did I start a podcast or what drive me or inspired me to do so. But thank you, 77 plus and counting. Thank you. I guess my wife is correct because it's my baby. So my wife is correct that I should make this shorter. And yesterday was the shortest podcast. That's not a bonus episode, but the shortest episode ever with 34 35 minutes. I guess we'll try to do that as well. So thank you, appreciate it. To the new subscriber, thank you. I have 11 now, which is fun. Like I said, I'm happy. I don't believe that this podcast or vlog or whatever we will want to call it, me ranting or venting, I believe, it's a day-to-day process. It's not really, I want to have like a million in an hour like Cristiano Ronaldo, because I'm not Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously. Um, I do this for fun. Do I want to monetize this? Probably. I'll tell you later. So yeah, thank you. Then hope everyone's weekend is, just good. For me, I was rested enough last Saturday. I don't have work on Saturday. I don't have work on the weekends. Later tonight, I have work, of course, but as a freelancer, a financial analyst freelancer, and I say hi to my baby. I'll just cover him for, for some reason. And yeah, so it's a Monday grind. And yeah, for episode 17. So, what are we going to talk about? This one. So, it's a mountain, but it's blank. But if you have worked for a BPO company, if you're a fan of US geography and history, this is the Mount Rushmore. I believe it's in North or South Dakota. I forgot. I used to remember this in the first my first year in the BPO because US geography and culture was part of our modules back then. We were starting to further uh, be well enough or well enough no, well known to the fact that we have to know the culture of the U.S. People, Americans, and this is the Mount Rushmore. So this topic will be split in like two or three or four episodes because it's kind of long, and I will not be able to do it in one go, especially if I'm going to the route of 30 minutes now. It will not. So this is the most objective episode or group of episodes for the Pop in Wrestling podcast. Why is it subjective? Because we're going to talk about the Mount Rushmore of WWE in my perspective and my point of view and opinion. You have your opinion, type it in the comment section, bash me, why or why not, if I'm correct, if I'm not, it's all your our opinion matters to us, and sometimes I value the opinions of others as well. Sometimes I don't care, but most of the time I value. I value, but sometimes I don't care. So it's a different thing. So, uh, Mount Rushmore talks kind of like I said, subjective. Who's the best wrestler? Who's the worst wrestler? What's the best match? What's the worst match? Best finisher, worst finisher, best entrance music, worst entrance. It's all subjective. Because sometimes for some people, we using that subjectiveness as facts, but there are times are not. Like I said, we don't really know what the facts are until they're like proven evidence that it's really a fact. So for me, we're going to break down the Mount Rushmore of WWE. So this is just for WWE, starting with, in my opinion, the golden age of pro wrestling, the rock and wrestling era. So that this was 1984 to like 1991 or 1992. During that era of WWE, the popularity of WWE, the surge of popularity of WWE, until then. Then probably we'll dwell on the new generation era. So it's 1993, 92, 93 until 96, let's say that. So, yeah, Vince McMahon bought WWE from his father, Vince McMahon Sr., early 90s for like a couple of $1 million. He placed and bet everything for, his vision of pro wrestling or sports entertainment at the time. He acquired Hulk Hogan and among other names from AWA and NWA and the territories. So territories, folks, it's kind of the independent scene back then because territories were gone and became independent scene when WWE, NWA, and WCW became a national promotion or national promotions. So when Vince bought the WWE from his dad, he want everything to be nationwide or national and even global. And he did that. And like I said, he put everything his money in the in their eggs in their basket, proverbial basket, gambled everything. And like I said, they gambled everything at WrestleMania 1. But he needed names for his company to be successful. And in my opinion, like I said, my point of view, this four Mount Rushmore is my Mount Rushmore of the rock and wrestling era. So number one, this is not in random order because even in the Mount Rushmore of presidents, there's no who's the best one. People are subjective still that hey, Abe Lincoln is the number one or George Washington or whoever. Doesn't really work that day. That's why Mount Rushmore is like top four, but they're top one. So it's top one A, one B, one C, one D, whoever, whatever. So my first name in on my Mount Rushmore on this era, the rock and wrestling era or golden age of wrestling era, is Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan until now is probably the most well-known professional wrestler, sports entertainment in the world. Most people still, especially in my generation of those who are born in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, when you say WWE or you say pro wrestling, it's Hulk Hogan. I know some people will say Ric Flair, but Ric Flair is the face of the NWA WCW, and eventually, if you're going to compare WWE and the NWA WCW, it's like still the WWE now until against AEW. It's more well known. WWE dwells on the casual audience as well as the niche audience. AEW and back then WCW and NWA, they were catering to the niche audience, meaning those who are really die-hard fans. Those who doesn't like WWE, they probably like Ric Flair and the NWA, Dusty Rhodes and those people. But that's another topic for another time. So first name is Hulk Hogan. He's the most well-known, most recognizable. When you see his mustache, you know it's Hulk Hogan. When you see the long hair with the bald head, long balded long hair, it's Hulk Hogan. Tear his yellow shirt, it's Hulk Hogan. When you hear the real American song, it's Hulk Hogan. He propels WWE to the map. Like I said, when they gambled everything. The Vince and his family gambled everything to get Hulk Hogan and WrestleMania 1. Hulk Hogan, they gambled on Hulk Hogan's popularity. I put Hulk Hogan in this list in the Mount Rushmore of Golden Age wrestling era list because if I'm Vince McMahon right now, or not really, but in my perspective, I saw Hulk Hogan's probably the combination of the popularity in babyface aura of a Bruno Sammartino plus the charisma of superstar Billy Graham back then, and that's Hulk Hogan. He, like I said, he's the most recognizable face in all of professional wrestling. Maybe yeah, we can say Dwayne Johnson, John Cena. Topic for another day. And yeah, so Hulk Hogan is on that list. Another one is you don't have a great or good hero without a great or worse or bad guy. Bad guy. So second on my list and the Mount Rushmore of the Golden Age slash rock and wrestling era is Rowdy Roddy Piper. So I believe Rowdy Roddy Piper, you know, toiled the indie or territory scene back then. He wrestled in NWA, I believe Texas territories and whatnot, Canadian territories. I believe he wrestled or competed for Bret Hart's father in Stampede Wrestling. Uh, and when he was acquired by Vince McMahon, he was initially the thorn in Hulk Hogan's, side. He is the bad guy for Hulk Hogan's good guy. Like I said, you can't have a great good guy if you don't have a worse or great bad guy, and that's Rowdy Roddy Piper. Before CM Punk became a rebel or even Stone Cold Steve Austin, there's Rowdy Roddy Piper. It didn't need catchphrases. Maybe at latter part of his career he did, but during that time didn't need any catchphrase. He's a bad guy. He can talk shit whenever and wherever he wants, barring profanity and whatnot. But he was a great, even as a bad guy. They gave him like his own talking segment or talk show, which is the Piper's Pit, the popular Piper's Pit, where he interviewed wrestlers. Among other, the most popular is with Jimmy Snuka, Coconut Attack, and the only I guess catchphrase, not really catchphrases, but the word the way he said it. If they think they know the answer, I change the question, which is like the ultimate line for a bad guy. So Rowdy Roddy Piper is my number. It's actually the second part of my Mount Rushmore for that era. Third one is for me Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah. So in terms of back then, he's the obvious number two to Hulk Hogan's number one name as a top wrestler in the WWE. Uh, he can be a great brawler, a great technician, a high flyer. He's an all-around wrestler, and he has a ton of charisma when he talks. He talks really in a gravely voice, and according to Hulk Hogan's book and other legends' book, when Randy Savage talks in like personal capacity, he really talks like that. So he really lives his gimmick, according to Hogan or some books, like I said. And uh, to the casual audience, he was known as Bonesaw McGraw in the first Spider-Man movie, the Tobey Maguire one. So he's really recognizable. He in the states, according to Eric Bishop, but this was the WCW days. He didn't WCW Turner didn't pay him. Slim Jim paid his salary when he was a spokesperson for Slim Jim. But for me, when he was in the WWE, he was the obvious number two to Hulk Hogan's babyface. So he's like number two. As term as popularity and impact that he did during that era. So yeah, rest in peace, Macho Man. And number four for the Mount Rushmore to cover this era, in my mind, in my you know weird way, the Ultimate Warrior. Rest in peace as well, Jim Hellwig, Jim Warrior. So if Hulk Hogan is number one and Randy Savage is number two, in my opinion, still Ultimate Warrior is interchangeable with Randy Savage. So they can be two A and two B in terms of Hulk Hogan's shadow during that time. Uh, he is not the most well-crafted technical wrestler, obviously, but his energy rivaled Hulk Hogan's energy or baby face capacity or good guy capacity at the time. And I was sad, not sad when Hulk Hogan lost to the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6 in the Toronto Skydome. Like it was the changing of the guard at the time. Although yeah, backstage issues happened at the time. That maybe we will dwell on another episode or whatnot. And things didn't pan out to the Ultimate Warrior. But the thing is, kids love him, despite some other wrestlers issue towards him that he's not really a good person. But kids love him. They painted their faces with the Ultimate Warrior logo and whatnot, tassels in their shoulders. Old stuffed toy of the wrestling buddies. They're there. That Ultimate Warrior's popularity rivaled at the time. Although business at the time wasn't really that good enough when he became too popular with the fans because of the Hulk Hogan. They look Hulk Hogan still as the face of WWE. But at the time, Ultimate Warrior I considered as a Rushmore at that era. So yeah, that covered the rock and wrestling era of the Mount Rushmore of rock and wrestling era. So next up, maybe a little bit of intermission before we go to the next era. So business-wise, let's talk about WWE. Like I said, they announced that a U.S. title for women will be crowned in the near future on SmackDown, and probably Intercontinental Championship for women as well at Raw. We don't know when, but there was already a rumored report that both Raw and SmackDown next year will be 3 hours long each. So for Raw, I don't know what day they will provide it on Netflix. Probably still on a Monday, because Raw is known as a Monday night show. SmackDown still in the USA for every Friday. So it's really understandable that they produce or promote this new titles for women. I'm not saying that there will be a US women's intercontinental champion, but it doesn't make sense if NXT has a women's North American title, SmackDown has a women's US title, and Raw doesn't have one. Doesn't make sense. But yeah, one of my good buddies on the Worldwide Wrestling Society said, I forgot Chelsea Green as my top female wrestler to win the US title. Yeah, she is there. Her charisma, her workload is there. She can wrestle. She can wrestle in TNA in the Indies. He even wrestles like guys at the time. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea Green somehow is the first women U.S. championship. But on Raw, if they're going to do a women's IC title, there's no more deserving than Selena Vega. Sure, you have your Shayna Baszler, your Zoe Stark, Lyra Valkyria, but Selena Vega's time to be a champion is long overdue. If you have seen Backlash Puerto Rico last year, 2023, the roar of the crowd when she fought Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship at the time, the crowd was so over her. And she was so over. So I believe her work capacity, her workload speaks for itself. Her work alone speaks for herself. So hopefully when they do give those titles, those two names, probably, hopefully, they get their long overdue. So there. Then yeah. So let's go to the Mount Rushmore topic, and we're going to now to the new generation era topic of Mount Rushmore. So for the new generation, as I said, this happened around 1992 to like 1995, 1996. Four names. I'm going to kinda make it a little bit cheating of making like five names. So first name, obviously for the Mount Rushmore for the new generation era, is five-time five-time WWE champion, multiple-time Intercontinental champion and tag team champion, Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart. If you have read his autobiography, interviews, and whatnot, he was really next in line as far as Vince McMahon's perspective at the time because Hulk Hogan is no longer with the company around 1994. He went to WCW. Ultimate Warrior did the experiment of Ultimate Warrior didn't pan out. Bret Hart was popular among the niche audience to the casual audience of WWE or part of the casual audience of WWE because Bret Hart is well known as a great technical wrestler, a decent promo guy, he can go in terms of wrestling, but as far as stature or impact, he's not as big as Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior. He's really a wrestler, a pro wrestler, the technical wrestler. But yeah, he won WWE for his first WWE championship against Ric Flair in a house show of all things aside. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, I believe. First one is WWE Championship. Bret Hart's impact, I could actually say that he's really well known and popular more overseas compared to the US. Canada, he's popular, of course, because he's Canadian. Germany, Europe, Middle East, he's really popular. And there's like documentary of fans really crying, cheering, and crying for him. So that's how big, or maybe even like in Vince McMahon's perspective, he might not be as big as Hulk Hogan in terms of overall popularity, but in my opinion, I couldn't give a Mount Rushmore of new generation if to anyone, but Bret the Hitman Hart is actually there. So next up for the new generation era, and at the time he's the close second to Bret the Hitman Hart. He's my personal favorite wrestler of all time, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. So Shawn Michaels was well known at the 80s or early 90s as a tag team wrestler with the Rockers with Marty Jannetty. He got frustrated. They haven't won the WWE Tag Team Champions. I believe they tried to win it. They almost won it in a Saturday night main event match against the Hart Foundation, but controversy happened that the ring rope broke, and it's a taped show. And instead of fixing the rope and just restarting the match, they continued the match. They won, but the titles were vacated because of the ring rope issue. So he got frustrated and decided that historically, he did in interviews and he on his books that there was a line in Vince McMahon's office every after show, and he normally sees Macho Man, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, cut the line, and he decided to cut the line himself. And he told Vince, "I want to be a star. How can I be the man?" And Vince McMahon said, "You just did." So he became one of the top wrestler, became Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, multiple time Intercontinental Champion during that era, and like I said, close number two to Bret Hart as far as top babyface or whatnot, top overall entertainer, performer, wrestler at the time. So yeah, he got the nod here for this Mount Rushmore of this era. Another one, third one in my book, Big Daddy Cool Diesel. So he was introduced as Shawn Michaels' insurance policy or bodyguard at the time, heater in terms of wrestling parlance, meaning he give heat because Shawn Michaels was a heel. He needed like a bodyguard to protect him, and Big Daddy Cool Diesel was the one. He formerly wrestled in WCW under different name, Vinny Vegas, Oz, part of the Master Blasters, or Master of the Power Bombs, I guess. He was really more of like an attraction, but doesn't really work as an attraction. but Shawn Michaels saw him in historically in interviews said that he saw him and he was funny. I think he thought he was funny, and they recruited him. He didn't really do well in WCW. He was let go by WCW, went to WWE, cursed and Big Daddy Cool Diesel, and he became like the face of the new generation at this time of and age as well. So there was really no clear number one face or top baby face at the time during the new generation era. Interchangeable between these three or four that I will name. Um, then during the time, he became a triple crown champion. I'm sorry, tag team champion, intercontinental champion, and WWE champion. He had a 1 year reign between 1994 to 1995. He defeated legendary wrestler, Hall of Famer Bob Backlund in 8 seconds, I believe, during a house show in Madison Square Garden. Then he had a 1 year reign until he lost the title to Bret Hart at Survivor Series 1995. But yeah, he became a Hall of Famer as well, and he is member of the Clique with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Razor Ramon, Sean Waltman, or better known as X-Pac. So yeah, clearly the Big Daddy Cool Diesel is part of the Mount Rushmore of the new generation era. Now, the number four, it's interchangeable between these two because they were both heels and popularly known heels at the time. Yokozuna, the late great Hall of Famer Yokozuna, who had like a 1 year title reign as well during this time, the new generation era, feuded with guys like Bret Hart, uh, Undertaker, among other names. And the other one is also the late great Hall of Famer Razor Ramon, who is a multiple time intercontinental champion at this time. Now, the way I said it that they're interchangeable or cheating or cheat code is because they're really well known during this time as the face of the company. That when you say new generation, there's no Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Randy Savage was just an announcer. Roddy Piper, I believe, is no longer working for the company or just working back and forth. Million Dollar Man was doing the same thing. Mr. Perfect was practically doing the same thing. So the impact, I based my Mount Rushmore category or opinion is based on their impact in the business of WWE at the time. So at the time, even though Yokozuna was a heel or a bad guy, he was a well-known bad guy. People hated him, feuded with Lex Luger, Bret Hart, Undertaker during this his title reign. And Razor Ramon was practically a heel turned babyface because people are tired of like booing him, and you can see him as a babyface, and he can work on babyface, including during this time, 1994, I believe. Yeah, 1994. He was a babyface against the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels in the first ever ladder match that happened in Madison Square Garden in a pay-per-view. It's not the first overall ladder match, but it's the most popularly known ladder match at the time. So, enough said, right? So, yeah, those are my Mount Rushmore for the era of the new generation era. So, it's Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor Ramon slash Yokozuna. And feel free to comment, say my picks are terrible, but I will tell you why later of why I'm missing one name. I will tell you why after the group of episodes. So yeah, so another last topic I can discuss for like 4 or 5 minutes. Why I created a podcast? What's my if people say do I want to monetize it? I'm not going to say I'm not going to be plastic or uh hypocrite enough. Yes, I want this to be monetized, maybe, but not right now. I know it's not right now. It's not. I'm not Cristiano Ronaldo. I am not a wrestler, well-known, popular guy. I just do this for fun right now. If I in the near future, because like I said, as Triple H said, it's not a marathon. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I was inspired by two guys who do this. In the US, it's Chris Van Vliet, popular interviewer, podcaster. According to him, when I was like watching one of his clips, first 2 3 years, nobody's watching his podcast. Nobody's caring enough until word of mouth that he became well known. He was. So I'm not sure if I can talk to pro wrestler. I think I need to pay them, but I don't know how to pay them because I don't have that much money. Uh, but that's one. And the other guy is popular here in the Philippines. It's his name is Lincoln Velasquez, popularly known as Kong TV. He did this around 2008, I believe, his first vlogs. He was more of a vlogger than a podcaster, but even he said that nobody's watching at the time. Nobody knows me. Nobody knew me. And now he's known as Kong TV, and he's basically a millionaire here, a multimillionaire here in Manila. He's really popular, and I even like his content. If all those content creators at the even at this moment, he's one of my favorites when I started watching him because he's the normal Filipino guy, and they didn't start overly popular. Like they said, nobody was watching their vlogs or podcasts. They just work on the grind, and that's what I'm planning to do. I'm doing this for fun right now. I'm doing this for my mental health issue and capacity to be. And like I said, my favorite word using this podcast is cathartic because it really helps me a lot. Uh, Releasing the angst in my body and whatnot. So yeah, that's the reason I started this podcast. And like I said, those 77 or more people watching last yesterday's episode, and hopefully will watch the same and spread the word. Subscribe, like my channel. I don't want it to be as big as it can be go bigger right now, but I'm trying. I'm trying to do the best work that I can possibly give, and hopefully I can, satisfy all your uh wrestling hungerness, if ever, with my insight. Like I said, this is only my point of view and my opinion. You can respect it, you can bash it, that's fine. Just long as you don't, bash a family member of mine, that's good. I'm all good. Um, I welcome criticism, I welcome opinions, and yeah, spread the word. You will help me a lot. So yeah, so thank you for watching episode 17 of the Pop in Wrestling podcast with me, Coach 23, dealing with the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. But don't worry, this is just part one. Part two will probably Friday, this coming Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I will try to record right now and finish all everything up. So this is recorded, and thank you for watching and listening to Pop in Wrestling podcast. See you guys tomorrow for Raw review, among other things. So thank you for watching Pop in Wrestling podcast with me, Coach 23. Have a great day.